Okay, let's get
There's not a
started.
ton of slides.
Starting with roll call, we can start over with Austin.
Yeah. Kerfman present.
Beck, present.
Wagner here.
Lewis, present.
Bowman, here.
Brown?
Villanueva present.
Moving on to public discussion of anything not on the agenda. Okay, cool. And then now the public hearing for locally landmarking a bunch of places.
So I think for our process, Andrew, if you want me to kind of highlight that real quick, I'll go through and talk about what's in the staff report, talk about the properties, how they're eligible. And if you guys have any questions, great. Then I would suggest that any members of the public plus the applicant, there is a rep from the applicant here, they could all speak. And then we have different motions for each property since they are for individual properties, even though I'll discuss them as a group just because they work that way. So I would suggest that you make motions to discuss them, probably individually.
Okay,
And we have a slide for each motion too.
gotcha.
Okay, so we are here to discuss the local landmark designation of 4 properties. Did that change? No, there. They are the Baranek Cherny Hudacek House at 214 North Gilbert Street, which is up there in the top left corner, the brick house. 210 North Gilbert Street, the Hudacek House, the green one. 204 North Gilbert Street, the Hervert House, which is the blue one, and then the Foxhead Hervert Tavern at 402 East Market Street. The Iowa City Community Theater is nominating the 4 properties for a landmark designation. They had been owned by the Hudacek family for over 100 years, and Mary Ellen Hudacek, who recently passed, had left them to the theater with the hopes that they, or the directive that they are preserved for the community. And so that is what has brought us the landmark nomination. Here is a location map that shows them with the white outline. And I'll show another map later with a little bit more of the neighborhood. But here you can see that area in relationship to the red dots, which are some of our other local landmarks, and then of course our historic and conservation districts, just so you see where they are located. They are not in a district currently. Okay, so designation as a landmark will require approval of any significant changes to the exterior of the buildings. They'll also make them eligible for special exceptions that would allow the Board of Adjustment to waive or modify certain zoning requirements. And of course, they could be eligible for state, potentially federal tax credit projects, depending on the use and stuff of the building. And then our Historic Preservation Fund. And actually the federal tax credits, they would have to become listed in the National Register. It's the state tax credits that they could get for local landmark designation. So in order to meet the criteria for local designation, we have these 2 criteria, A and B. If you were here for the National Register discussion we had last month, these basically equate with the general requirements of the National Register. The building has to be significant, and for us, that means it has to be significant to either American or Iowa City history or our architecture or our archaeology or culture. And then they also have to have significant integrity to express their meaning. And so we went through, what's my next slide? Okay. The information that was submitted by the applicant discussed each property individually in regard to that significance and integrity, and as a group in regard to this. And basically what this is that all of the properties must individually meet one of these other criteria for landmark designation. And this is kind of the specific one that the National Register looks at, and they are basically the same. So we have either the lives of a significant person, we have architecture. It doesn't say the word architecture, but that's basically what that large passage is meaning, or archaeology. And then the first one is events. And events is what we're talking about here. And events, we don't mean like, Mother's Day parade or something like that. We're talking about significant events like the integration of an immigrant culture into our local culture, or the forming of our city in the early days. Things like that are the events that we're talking about. Okay, so for the first property, this is the Baranek Cherny Hudacek House at 214 North Gilbert Street. What's interesting about this house is it was built in the 1870s basically as a single-story rectangular gable front brick house. And that is very similar to the David Bort's house at 412 North Dubuque Street. That is also actually a local landmark. If you see here on the front, there's a little bit of a ghost of a gable there. Depending on the light, you can also see a color change between the first and second story of the brick here. All of this changed. So Joseph Baranek built the house in the 1870s. And then around 1900 or so, Cherny bought the house, and he added not only this south-facing gable front or gabled wing here, but also the entire second story. And so he was basically bringing in kind of a Victorian vernacular to this little single-story brick cottage. And Cherny he was a stonemason, and he added the Queen Anne detailing in the gables. It's hard to see because of the trees, but there's some shingled siding and some other trim details here. And then we have a porch on each side of this south-facing wing. That and some historic windows. All of these details are still intact, so the building does have good integrity. Let's see. In addition to that, this building is one of the rare buildings in town that still has its existing detached summer kitchen, which is this small structure in the back. It has board and batten siding. And so they added this summer kitchen so that they could heat it up, and it's completely detached from the house so the house won't get hot in the summer when they're cooking. And so that's another rare thing that is kept with this particular house. So it's significant because it shows that change from a one-story cottage, brick cottage, to a Queen Anne kind of Victorian cottage, done by a Czech stonemason. He's showing his skills in his profession, and it also has really good integrity. The next house is the Hudacek House, and this was built about 1896 by Joseph Hudacek. And he was a carpenter who worked with Frater Construction, and they are a construction company here in town who built quite a few historic homes and even some commercial buildings like the Paul Helen building downtown. That's the one with artifacts and the Java House and stuff like that in it. This is a hipped roof Queen Anne with projecting gables. It has decorative barge boards in the gable, which are these. It has kind of this band board separating a lap siding with corner boards with mitered corners above, another band board separating this shingled gable. This house also has very good integrity. We do know that sometime, I think probably around 1920, 1921, the porch was reconfigured a little bit. It resembled one that wrapped around slightly with a mitered corner here in the very earliest version. But other than that, it does have good integrity. And Hudacek, as a carpenter working with this, with the Freighter Construction Company, he was really able to exhibit not only the materials that he was able to get through his profession, but also his craftsmanship. And I haven't personally seen it, but I've heard that the interior also has really nice woodwork as well. So it's significant, basically as an example of this type of construction, a Queen Anne Victorian, constructed by the carpenter who owned it, who was also a professional in that field. Here's just another view of that. I couldn't tell if it was easier to see the barge boards in the details or not, but. The Hervert House at 204 North Gilbert Street, we don't actually have a construction date for this house, but the most interesting and important thing about it is it was actually built by Joseph Hervert, who owned the tavern next door, as a place to live in while he owned his tavern. We think a lot of commercial buildings where they might have lived upstairs downtown and had their business in the bottom floor. And this is just an example of having the home next door instead. It is very indicative of an immigrant cottage. It doesn't have quite the Queen Anne details of the other two houses. It's very similar to a lot of the cottages that we would see in the Goosetown neighborhood. It has really not changed at all over time, except for a one-story addition in the back. You can see just a little bit of it off to the side here. And that addition was put in when plumbing came along. And so it's kind of showing the history of the house. Not only do we have, the owner living next door to his business, but then just that small change that's made over time in order to incorporate the new technology of plumbing. And then we have the tavern building. We don't know exactly when this was built either. There are records of Hervert running a saloon in the building, I believe in the late 1870s. We also do know that it was damaged by fire in 1906, and we don't know the extent of the damage. So what we have here is at least from 1906, if not earlier. And it is very rare for a wood frame commercial building to exist that long. We don't have many. I can't think off the top of my head of any except for grocery stores and neighborhoods that might be this old. Most of the commercial buildings that we have in town are masonry construction instead. So it's very unique as that. It also tells the story of Prohibition in the fact that it's changed uses over time. And in fact, it became a tavern again right after the repeal of the amendment, within 6 months. And it was owned by Hervert. It was owned by, I think, a man named Miller at one point in time who also lived next door. And then it was the Alberhaskys who took it over as a tavern after Prohibition was lifted. And so this tavern also became a place where some of the local writers from the university also went and became a hangout for them as well. So it has a rich history, not only as its use in a neighborhood where brewing was important, as a tavern in the Czech immigrant neighborhood, changing use during Prohibition and then returning to tavern use right away after that. And it's also associated with important families, including the Alberhaskys and the Herverts. One of the houses that was landmarked a few years ago across the street was also in the Hervert family. I don't know what the relationship was. I didn't look that up, but okay. When it was reopened after Prohibition, I guess part of the story, maybe it was the local police wanted to be able to see in better, and so these longer windows that you can tell are different from the windows on this side were added just so they had a better view. And the document also talks about how the interior of this hasn't changed. We don't look really at interiors, but that is significant if they do ever want to get it listed in the National Register, that it is the same on the interior. So a lot of the significance has to do with the fact that we are in a neighborhood that was not just a residential neighborhood or a commercial neighborhood or an industrial neighborhood. This is the 1912 map. I picked this map. It's a little later than these houses and buildings were built, but I picked this one because it was the easiest to work with. And so we have the buildings here, the brick one, the green one, the blue one, and the Fox Head. We have several other landmarks that are located around here. They all have red dots. The hall, I can't think of words right now, I'm so sorry, but you know, we recently landmarked this building where Polly Eyes is currently. We have one of these houses was a Hervert house. We have the Haunted Bookshop building and this other stone building. The nomination talks about the fact that this was a brewery area, and at the time that they were built, there were 3 breweries. So we had the Dostal Brewery was here. It's the Iowa Brewery, I think, on this map now. We have the Union Brewery, which is on the corner. And then at the time they were constructed, the Englert family had a brewery in this area. By 1912, that building was gone already. One of the local landmarks in this neighborhood was not built in 1912, and that's the Economy Advertising Building that's a little bit later here. And yeah, I think that is it. There's another local landmark up here. But this is showing you that we have residential. Everything that is marked with a D is a dwelling. So even over along Lynn Street here, we have some dwellings mixed in with commercial buildings such as the Union Bakery that we've been working on projects recently. And so this is really an important neighborhood where we had immigrant families that were really shaping the culture of the neighborhood and frankly the culture of Iowa City at this time. They lived near their breweries. The tavern was right there adjacent to the brewery as well. And all of these families really represented some of those professions also that the immigrant families had. We had the stonemason, we had the carpenter, we had the tavern owner and his tavern, and all of these reasons are why these 4 properties are significant for the cultural event of the Czech immigrants integrating into Iowa City and really shaping our culture. That's all I have. And after that, I have the motions, and they're basically like this, the motion with each photo. So I guess next, if you guys have any questions, we can go over that. I didn't go through everything in the submitted documents. We had some public letters that were sent before, and we had some after the agenda was published, and they're all attached to your agenda. And then once you're done with questions, when you're ready, you can invite the public up.
Gotcha. So do we have any questions for staff?
What, on that 210, Hudachek House, is that a metal roof on it?
Oh, yeah, and that is actually significant, too. It's a decorative metal shingle. I think it might be similar to there's one in the 800 block of Brown Street. I think they might be similar, but I can't think of any others in town that are that particular metal. And so that is also significant. It doesn't show up very well in photos.
The one with the snow on it, that one you can kind of.
Yeah, you can see the texture a little bit better there. But yeah, it's not metal sheets, it's metal shingles.
I'm curious about the property that's to the east of Foxhead. That is a landmark. I know I walked by there. It looks like it's maybe a limestone building.
It is, and I didn't look up, so I don't remember right now what its name is. And it is a very old limestone building. It has pretty low windows and a low roof pitch and roof line, so it's not as large as the building the Haunted Bookstore is in right now. It's likely earlier. I don't know if it's much earlier, but maybe 1860s or so, maybe 1850s, but probably 1860s. And I don't know since I didn't look it up, I don't know its relationship to these buildings.
Yeah, I'm just glad to know that it's landmarked.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, doesn't seem like we have other questions. All right, so next would be commentary from anyone who wants to commentary?
Yeah, if you want to speak, just come up, sign in on the sheet of paper first, please.
My name's Rachel Carlson. I'm here with Friends of Historic Preservation. I just have a little bit to read. The Foxhead and the three houses at 204, 210, and 214 Gilbert have been in the Hudachek family for over 100 years. These buildings were constructed by the families of early Czech and German immigrants and helped tell the story of the early brewing industry in Iowa City. Mary Ellen Hudachek wished her family's heritage to be preserved. She bequeathed the properties to the Iowa City Community Theater with this goal in mind. The community theater plans to sell the properties, but is asking the city to zone them as historic landmarks to help preserve them. Standing in front of these four buildings in the 200 block of North Gilbert Street is like going back in time to 1900. These historic properties, along with others located along North Gilbert Street, such as the Wen Stanch House, the Haunted Bookshop, and 219 North Gilbert, 225 and 229 North Gilbert, Public Space 1, help tell the story of early Iowa City and the Czech and German immigrants who helped build our town. Being close to downtown University of Iowa Hospital, there is concern that the Foxhead and the Hudachek houses are in danger of redevelopment. Historic landmark zoning for the Foxhead and Hudachek properties will help preserve this small but important part of Iowa City history. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else? No one has to, I just was asking if
No,
anyone
I
else
just
wanted to.
figured,
I don't want to bully you into
Hi.
talking if you don't want to.
I don't have any prepared remarks planned, but my name is Amy Benfer. I live at 114 North Gilbert, also in a house owned by Doug Alberhaski. I'm also, I suppose, a member of the workshop community. In 2023, in a class called Dialogue Lab taught by at the Iowa Writers Workshop by my partner Tom Drury, a group of us, including bartenders at the Foxhead, got together and decided we were going to start doing an oral history of the neighborhood and the Foxhead. And I cannot tell you, I wish I had some of these things with me, I cannot tell you how important it is in literary culture and the history of the community. In addition to obviously its place as, in architectural history. The sheer number of writers and the events that have taken place could fill a book. We hope will fill a book. And I have also interviewed Dave Alberhasky several times, and I can also attest to that, the fact that the interior itself is just remarkable. There are things in there that that go all the way back to, I guess, 1935. So I think it is imperative that it's preserved. I was told that's probably likely. But we have been discussing as in the North Side community for quite some time, like how important it is to preserve that. And we have been sort of doing a neighborhood whisper network whenever anything new comes up. So we're all very invested in having that. I would also just add too that the other properties are also, besides their architectural significance, are also very important in the history of like the music community in the neighborhood and the LGBTQ community. They have sheltered many LGBTQ youth over the years, so please preserve them. Thank you.
Thank you.
I'll put my name on here too.
Yeah, thank you for signing in as well.
Oh, and my address. Oops.
Thanks. Anybody else? Okey-doke, thank you. Next would be making motions and then discussing. Is what I'm gonna say. Okay. Okay, we can get a motion for the first house.
Wagner moves to approve the designation of the Baranek Cherney Hudacek House, 214 North Gilbert Street, as an Iowa City Historic Landmark based on the following criteria for local designation, criteria A, B, and C.
Villanueva seconds.
Okay, commission discussion. Any commentary? Okay, we can vote on this. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Okey-doke. Moving on.
Beck moves to approve the designation of the Hudacek House, 210 North Gilbert Street, as an Iowa City Historic Landmark based on the following criteria for local designation, criteria A, B, and C.
Wagner seconds.
Any commission discussion? Okey-doke. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Okey-doke. Moving on to the next house.
Thoman moves to approve the designation of the Hervert House, 204 North Gilbert Street, as an Iowa City Historic Landmark based on the following criteria for local designation, criteria A, B, and C.
Beck seconds.
Commission discussion? Okey-doke. All in favor? Aye. All opposed? Okey-doke. Moving on to the Foxhead.
Villanueva moves to approve the designation of the Foxhead Herbert Tavern at 402 East Market Street as an Iowa City Historic Landmark based on the following criteria for local designation, criteria A, B, and C.
Wagner
Hoffman
seconds.
Any discussion from us? What?
I'll just say, I'm particularly excited about this one, considering the lore that surrounds it, but I am just so excited we're getting a cluster of houses too. There is a press of, future development happening here, and I do like this buffer. I think it segues nicely into this neighborhood. And I like that there's this nod to the past, but it's also really forward-looking. It's acknowledging our arts culture of Iowa City, and so I'm really happy that this is all going through. So don't disappoint me, let's vote yes.
Wouldn't it be funny if we all said no? Seconded, yeah. Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Okey-doke. Cool. Okay, moving on to the report on certificates issued by chair and staff, starting with, or at least just only including minor review, with 203 North Lynn Street.
Yes, we had a few staff approvals this past month.
The first is, there is a new sign at 203 North Lynn Street. This is kind of part of the projects that Jessica referred to at the Union Bakery building. So they're keeping the existing sign and just changing out. It's no longer Goosetown Cafe, it's going to be Breadworthy. At 302 East Bloomington Street, they're putting some air conditioning into this building, and so is the installation of some air conditioning units and ducting and mini splits at the rear of the building. And then we had two deck replacements, rear deck replacement projects, one at 816 Roosevelt Street, and the other at 802 South Summit Street, also a replacement of their rear deck.
We approve those. Okey doke. Moving on to consideration of minutes for May 14th, 2026. Do we have any addendum? That's not right. Changes? Okay.
Thoman moves to approve the minutes for the May 14th, 2026 meeting.
Villanueva seconds.
All in favor? Aye. All opposed? Sweet. Commission information, doesn't look like we have anything specific.
No, I just want to note that next time we'll have some new members of the commission, but we'll also do the election of officers next month.
Cool. Okey doke, thank you. And then commission discussion?
Commission discussion is all about our goodbyes, actually. I know. So we're losing two long-term commissioners. We're losing Frank Wagner and Carl Brown. And I don't know if your fellow commissioners have anything to say, but I can say that I've really appreciated having you both on the commission. I know, Carl, that your schedule's been difficult, but beyond that, when you're here, you speak up and always have something to add. And so it's been great having you on the commission. Frank, you've just been on too long, so you have to go. But no, it's been, you also speak up and stuff, but, having the voice of a contractor, now we have Austin, so,
Try to fill your shoes.
But you will be missed, and we'll just have to watch you from afar as you continue to work on our historic buildings.
That's what we're doing.
So.
And you've done several stretches, right? I mean,
Yeah.
not just
Yeah.
the terms, but
There was a one before this for about
Yeah,
6
he has been two different times
Yeah.
since I've been here. I think you were on the commission when I first started.
And I was on before you started.
Yeah.
wow.
Who was, when it was Cheryl Peterson, she was at, and then before her was the woman. who-
Christina
Christina.
Keeker or something like
Keeker,
that?
yeah. She was the first one, I think.
This isn't the last we've heard from you, is what we're saying?
I'm in Harashi from
Well, that's fine. Come comment.
But we appreciate both of you for serving on the commission. Thank you very much.
Yeah, Carl, you were always a reasonable voice during some tense times, and I appreciate that. And Frank's expertise, yeah.
Thanks.
Okay, I'm going to adjourn us unilaterally.